So, as you guys know, I was recently at a family gathering of sorts in Arizona, and there was a lot of family there. And there were obviously a lot of conversations. One of the conversations was one of my cousins, and he's a great guy. Um, I genuinely enjoy talking to him. Although there was a point where he's very interrogative, but without being abrasive. He's very subtle and adept at it, and he just wants to know more and more about people, which is honestly, that can be refreshing. That's something that's refreshing for people who want to be heard, want to be understood, want to feel like somebody is listening to them. So usually these are the types of people, my cousin, I mean, these are the types of people that can really make that type of person really open up and feel seen, or whatever. Um, I'm sure they like those types of people too, people that open up. Um, but it was interesting to me because he was starting to ask questions that I really couldn't answer honestly without divulging things that I knew probably wouldn't land. And this is something that I've kind of figured out recently. Um, that all of my life, I used to be a person who would want to be understood and would just want somebody to, uh, listen and let me talk. But then every time I would speak or really be honest or open up or vulnerable or whatever, it's almost like you can see their eyes glaze over at a certain point. Uh, it's either you're talking too much, you're wanting too much from them, you're wanting something from them that they just can't give you, or you're saying things that just don't make sense to them anymore. They're it's like they're buffering, or they're having difficulty computing what you're talking about. And so that I started to pick up on that, and so it would just get exhausting. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is they want to be understood. They want to feel like somebody hears them or knows them or is interested in them, or things like this, like, oh, I just want to be understood, I just want to be accepted, or just somebody is listening to me, somebody sees me, right? And doing semer retention is kind of, I think, made me realize that I don't think you necessarily want to be understood by other people. I think you want to understand yourself. I think that's actually what it is. Because I've noticed that, especially over the last maybe 6 months, um, I don't really have that desire, and it was made apparent to me, especially in this big, huge family reunion where there were lots of conversations with different people. I had no desire to be understood by my family members. I'm very okay with. I even pumped the brakes on my cousin who's trying to tear down all my layers and all my walls and all my guards, right? He thinks that I'm guarded because I'm afraid of being vulnerable, or I'm afraid of him judging me or not accepting me or not seeing me, or I'm afraid of what people will think about me. And I don't think that was necessarily it. I think that's what it comes off as, but it's not always that. It's not always that. What it was for me is, if I am going to be open and vulnerable in the ways that I'm capable, the ways that I like to be, it would make the entire room very uncomfortable. It would make my cousin uncomfortable. I know it. So he was asking for something that he didn't understand. He just doesn't understand what he's asking for. Like, be careful what you wish for, sort of thing. Um, it's just not really. It's just not really. Because I obviously, you guys know, like, look at my channel. This is why I actually talk on this channel. I think the reason I even make this channel to begin with is so I can talk to. So it's a way of, like, you choose to listen to this, right? That's nice because, like, it's consensual. You're accepting it. You're saying, you know what, I want to listen to this guy. Great, then happy to have you here. But I don't put this stuff on people who history has taught me, or like my own evaluation of them, my analysis of them, sort of gauging their capacity to maybe understand the things that I would say, or really be comfortable with it, or offer me anything really rich to the conversation. I won't just put it on people like that. And this is because, like, doing semen retention, you start to get to a point where you understand yourself a lot more. And understanding yourself and being good within yourself is really what you want. That's really what all of us actually want. But I guess it's difficult and it's hard, and you think that you want others to understand you, but that's not what it is, because nobody can make you feel understood. Nobody can make you feel seen. Nobody can make you feel good with you. Nobody can make you feel like accepted or validated. Only you can do that. Only you can do that. And I think that's maybe what plays a part to what makes people so magnetic, has this magnetism on semen retention, is you're no longer a person who is looking for people to understand you, is looking for, somebody that'll just lend an ear in a social gathering so you can, open up to them and explain things to them, and in secret hopes that they'll get you, that you'll connect. And I mean, it's really something that just can't be done by other people. And I find that interesting. It's usually the people that are very guarded, you could say, introverted, not apt, not not necessarily willing to open up. They're not the social butterfly. They're actually very quiet, very reserved, very closed off. I used to be, I am still that person, I guess. And I used to be also that person. But the difference was, if there was a person who actually was a good listener, that I could tell, oh, maybe they're actually interested in what I have to say. Maybe they're a good listener, man. I would just unload everything. I would say everything. I would just try to explain, just try to show, like, my complexity and how I understand things, and all the open up, and just try to strip the parts bare, and then what always ended up happening, 9 times out of 10, is you just kind of feel like it didn't really satisfy you, right? That wasn't as satisfying as you thought it'd be. Like, the person didn't understand you the way you thought they would. In fact, they didn't think that what you were saying was particularly interesting. Or they just didn't make it seem as if it was as interesting as you think it is. Maybe the words didn't land. Maybe it made them feel uncomfortable. Maybe it made them feel, insecure, or maybe it brought out some things in them that they weren't ready to, that have the malfunction going in the mind. And then they kind of just want to end the conversation or move it on to other subjects or other topics, and so that was always kind of hard for me. Um, or they didn't. What was more is like they never had anything to offer me that was like that I felt like was a good, rich sort of uh, addition to the conversation, or made me think about things differently, or was like a good just a good insight or something like that. Usually it was something that I was kind of like, it's a little underwhelming. But all this to say, I guess, I guess that's one of the great things about semen retention. I don't know if it's just semen retention that does this, or maybe just experience or whatever, but it seems to be that this has really progressed on semen retention, especially. I no longer have this desire for people to like understand me. In fact, it's almost the opposite. Like I want to confuse people. It's almost like I want to confuse you about who I am or what I am. I don't want you to even have a clear understanding. You know, like I want you to think the worst of me. It's something like this. Because like you get to a certain point where you know yourself, and to say that is one thing, but like you hear those words, but it's entirely different thing where you're like in the process of actually understanding like what that means experientially. And of course it's a continuous process. You never fully know yourself, obviously, but when you're starting to understand that like you know yourself, and you're good, and you're starting to be more good with yourself, and you're no longer craving anybody else to give that for you or provide that for you, then you really just, it's like you don't, it's almost like you don't care how you act anymore. You don't care if you kind of throw people off or throw people for a loop, or make them angry at you, or make them, you know, love you or revile you, or, whatever it is, laugh at you. It doesn't matter, because like, you know, you just, yourself. Like, you know, they wouldn't understand, and so all their interpretations sort of mean nothing. They don't mean anything to you, because who would know? Only you would know who you are. Everybody else has they're getting a small glimpse, a small sort of glimpse. They see you in one format and one snapshot of time. They see you, in this case, you see me 20 minutes a day. And, I'm always like, this is it's just one aspect of my life, but yeah, it's just, I guess that's what I kind of noticed at this family reunion, is like uh, an older version of myself would have opened up a lot more to my cousin, and been, hoping that, in sort of secret hopes that he would understand, or I could finally have somebody that would listen to me or understand me or whatever. And it's just it's never what you think it just don't matter. It just don't matter when you're starting to get further into like, your sort of inner sort of journey, I guess. You're more good with just like, you're very selective about the things that you share about yourself, and people, you'll sense that your boundary, I guess, is a lot more robust. Whereas before you thought you had a barrier, you would, like me, I used to be very closed off and like guarded and like stoic, and I wouldn't say a lot. But then, man, if you just got close to me and you seemed like you were lending an ear, or you seemed like you were interested, oh man, you could crack me right open. I would fucking unload. And so there wasn't really a boundary there. It's like I was showing this like fake sort of, persona of like, I'm guarded, I'm closed off, I'm stoic, I got walls, like you'll never know me, I'm a mystery, like you'll never crack me. And then, just people or women, they would quickly realize that, oh, all I have to do is just talk to this guy for a little bit, or whatever, and then he just opens right up. And it was the opening up in a way of, it wasn't the opening up in a way of like, oh, I'm just opening up, like take it or leave it, you know what I mean? It was the opening up in a way of like, I need you to understand, I need you to validate, I need you to accept this, or like, I'm, because I'm giving you this part, giving you these parts of myself, or these, poor, private, vulnerable parts of myself, it's like somehow conditional. Like I need you to like not leave me, and you have to like accept me, and now that I've done this, now you mean something to me. Oh, now I've told you all these things, but now you mean something to me. I'm attached to you, or whatever. And I just don't really have that anymore. That's not really a part of me anymore. And I guess that's part of becoming. Oh, can we delve into the part of becoming a man? Part of becoming a man, or just part of becoming, I don't know what it is to become a woman. I don't know. Part of becoming a man, I'll speak on that because I know that, is you get to a point where you no longer you don't need a female to like understand you or know you completely. You don't need anybody else, anybody for that matter, to know you or understand you. There's not this thing inside of you that wants validation and approval and acceptance and understanding and being seen from other people. It's just not there, because you're starting to provide that for yourself. You understand yourself, you accept yourself, you see yourself, you love yourself. And so when you're providing it for yourself, it's almost like that part of you that wants from other people just kind of leaves. And that's just kind of, and then what do relationships and friendships look like going forward after that? I don't know. I've never had one, or I don't even know what that would look like. I think all my like, you couldn't even, situationships, you couldn't even call them relationships with women, have been the other dynamic where I'm just like, I need, there's this unspoken sort of contract that you're signing that they don't know they're signing, and they eventually resent you for all the pressure that you put on them, and all this attachment that you have to them, and all this stuff. So, but yeah, it's just very interesting. It's very interesting. But anyway, those the insights for tonight. Got smoking vanilla candle burning back there. Smells good as shit. I wish a hot bitch was in here right now. Such is life. That's it. That's the video.